Hello, this is Tyler Beamer, math instructor at Haywood Community College. This is an instructional math video for Math 152. This video is to show students how to use the Excel Workbook that I have created and posted to Moodle to calculate expected value and standard deviation of probability distributions. So I am using the notes that I have also posted to Moodle for Chapter 5, Section 2 as kind of a guide. And I want to go ahead and go to the second page where it talks about how to find the expected value, which is the mean of a probability distribution, and also variance and standard deviation. So here's the formula for finding the mean or expected value of a probability distribution. You're taking the sum of the random variables x, and here's an example dealing with flipping a coin 3 times. So here are all the possible number of heads, which are random variables x, times the probability of each one of those random variables, and then summing those products together. And so what you're seeing here is the x times p of x. So this cell times this cell, and that's what's given to you in this cell, and then these are summed together, and so we get a mean or expected value in this case of 1.5. And then to get the variance, we take the random variable squared, and then we times it by its probability, and that work is being done here in this column, and then we sum those values together. So this number 3 represents the summing of these 4 numbers. And then we take that number and we subtract the mean squared from it, and that gives us variance. So that's what this is doing here, 3 minus the mean squared, and we get 0.75. And so then to get standard deviation from that, we square root variance. So that's how we find mean, expected value, variance, and standard deviation of probability distributions by hand. You can obviously imagine how cumbersome that can be if we had multiple random variables. So what I have done is I have posted to Moodle an Excel workbook that pretty much has pre-built functions to make calculating mean and standard deviation of probability distributions a little bit easier. So in the first column A, you have the random variables. In B, you have the probability of those random variables. A and B, these two columns, this is usually information that's provided in your specific problem on my stat lab. And you can change these values in columns A and B to fit your specific problem you're working on. Columns C and D are pre-built Excel functions, so you do not want to change those because they have formulas linked to them. So if you click on the cells for column C, notice you're taking the random variable x and then multiplying its specific probability to it to get these values, and you can see that formula as you move through the cell. And then in column D, you have the random variable squared times its probability, and so that is the formulas that you see in those cells. Okay. And then this cell gives you the mean, and so that is the sum of these products here, which is the same formula that we just talked about off the notes. And then this cell gives you the variance, which is the sum of column D, right, which we talked about that just from the notes. So comparing the formula to the formula from the notes, everything's matching up. So the sum here of the random variable squared times its probabilities, and then subtracting the mean squared from it, and that gives you the variance. And then to get the standard deviation, you just square root the variance, and that's what this formula is giving you. Okay, so the formulas that I created in Excel come straight from the theorems, definitions, and formulas from the text. So everything should match up. All right, so here's what you want to do to use it. Open your problem. So this is Chapter 5, Section 2 homework. This is number 11. So click on the icon to view the data, and then what you want to do is then click this and open this in a new Excel window. So I have actually already done that, which is here. Okay, and then you want to copy and paste this data from your problem into the Excel workbook. Okay, and notice in this case I only have 7 random variables, so be sure that these guys down here that were already in the workbook, we delete those, because we don't want to have information from previous problems in the workbook on the next problem that you're using. And then just double check yourself, right? I want to make sure that this data for the random variable and probability, right, that this is the only data that I have in my Excel workbook, right, and these numbers are matching, and they do. Okay, so you've got plenty of spots here, up to I think 12 random variables or 11 random variables if you need it. Some problems do not require that many. So like I said, you can change any of these cells over here, just don't change any of these because they are pre-built with Excel functions. And so notice that once you copy and paste the data in, right, all of these other cells are changing to fit your problem. Okay, and you can just double check, make sure everything is matching. Okay, and it looks pretty good, right? And so here's your mean, and so I think that's the first thing that the problem asks us for, is to find the mean. So 1.358, let's just double check, make sure that works. So that would round to 1.4. Just look at your rules of rounding here. Okay, and then it's asking us for sigma, standard deviation. So that would be here. So 1.25. So 1.3. And there we go. So use this Excel workbook as a more efficient way to find expected value and standard deviation for your homework problems in regards to probability distributions. Alright, so hopefully this will make the homework a little bit easier and more efficient. As always, if you have any questions, please send those to me via email. Alright, thank you and have a great day.